We are given that sin s equals 5 over 13 and sin t equals negative 3 over 5, and s is in quadrant 2 and t is in quadrant 4. And we have to determine the value of cosine of s plus t. So we can utilize the cosine of sum identity to expand this and determine the value. So first I'm going to use the cosine of sum identity to rewrite this. So this equals cosine of s times of cosine of t minus sine of s times of sine of t. So this is the expansion of cosine of s plus t. And we can see that we know the value of sine s and as well as the sine t, which are already given, but we are not sure about the cosine of s and cosine of t. So first we have to determine these values, substitute into the equation, and find the value of cosine of s plus t. So let's see how to do this one. For this, I'm going to construct a right triangle in quadrant 2 as well as in quadrant 4. So first, let me put the quadrant. We have to construct a right triangle in quadrant 2. So this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So let me construct a right triangle like this. And this angle is S, because S lies in quadrant 2. And we are given that sine S equals 5 by 13. So sine S is opposite over hypotenuse. So therefore, I'm marking the opposite side length to angle S as 5 and hypotenuse as 13. So first, we can determine this side length. Now let me construct another right triangle in quadrant 4 using the sine t information. So this is like this, and we have a right triangle at here. And so let's mark this as a t, and we are given that sine t equals negative 3 over 5. That is, the opposite side is negative 3 and over 5, which is hypotenuse. So I mark the hypotenuse as 5. So once again, we will also have to determine this side length so that we can determine the values of cos s and cos t. So first, let's consider quadrant 2. We can use the Pythagorean theorem to determine this unknown side length. So basically, this is equivalent to the square root of the hypotenuse square, that is 13 square, minus the other side square, that is 5 square. So this gives 13 square is 169 and 5 square is 25. So therefore this becomes 169 minus 25 is 144, and the square root of 144 is 12. It could be plus or minus 12. Since this lies in second quadrant, the x is negative here, so we can mark negative 2 here. I'm sorry, it is negative 12. And so we have determined this unknown side length for sine of s or for angle s. Now let's determine the unknown side length, that is this side length in quadrant 4. And here also we can use the Pythagorean identity. So this side length is also equal to the square root of hypotenuse square, which is 5 squared minus of the other side, which is negative 3 quantity square. So this becomes 5 square is 25 minus negative 3 square is 9. So this becomes 25 minus 9. This is 16. Square root of 16 is plus minus 4. But here we consider only positive 4 because this lies in quadrant 4, which means x is positive in quadrant 4. So we have determined the unknown side lengths of those two triangles. Now we can easily find the value of cos s and cos t. So let's determine the cos s and the cos t from these two triangles. So we have to consider this triangle to determine cos s. So cos s equals adjacent side to angle s over hypotenuse. Adjacent side length is negative 12 over hypotenuse is 13. Now let's determine cos t from this right triangle. So cos t, this equals adjacent side to angle t, which is 4 over hypotenuse is 5. So we have determined the value of cos s as well as cos t, which means we can now find the value of cos of s plus t. So let's replace the values. Cos s is negative 12 over 13 times of cos t is 4 over 5 minus sine s. We know this value of sine s, which is 5 by 13, and sine t is negative 3 over 5. So let's simplify this. So therefore this becomes, multiply the numerators, that is negative 12 times 4 is negative 48 over 13 times 5 is 65, minus we have 2 minus, that is negative times negative is positive, so I can put positive here, and 5 times 3 is 15 divided by 13 times 5 is 65. So we have a common denominator, which means we can add the numerator. So therefore this becomes negative 48 plus 15 over 65, and this equals negative 33 over 65. So this cannot be further simplified because there is no common factor between 33 and 65. So we leave it like this. So this is the value of cosine of s plus t.